Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Get connected, Fitchburg. Sign up for Fitchburg Connect, the city's monthly e-newsletter that keeps you informed about all the events, services, and updates that matter to you. Get it in your inbox once a month. Sign up today to get Fitchburg Connect.
Good morning, folks. I'm Mark Hamilton, and I am going to call to order the CETA meeting for May 28, 2026. We'll start the meeting this morning with a roll call, and I will look to staff to make the roll call for us.
Garcia Sierra.
Here. Good morning.
Good morning. Hamilton.
Here.
Hardy. Here. Ledusa.
Here.
Lepper.
Here.
Potts.
Here.
Sanders.
Here.
We have a quarter.
Thank you very much. Next item of business is approval of the March 26th, 2026 minutes. As you know, we did not meet in April, so there are no April minutes. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at these minutes? I'm seeing head nods.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If there's no discussion, is there any discussion on these minutes? Excuse me.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Same sign.
Thank you. Am I echoing? Okay. Mario, did you vote yea or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item number 4, public appearances for non-agenda items. And today we have a citizen who has requested, Nura Said, is that right? Sadid, would like to speak on agenda item 8A. So as we get to item 8A on the agenda, we will, if you would come up and sit next to Lorraine, please, and turn the microphone on, we'll call you up. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item on the agenda is election of officers. And as being the chair for the past term and a half, where I filled half of Jennifer Clary's role in the last term, I've enjoyed your support as chair over the past year and a half, and I've enjoyed this role. We got a very engaged committee with taking care of a lot of things over the past year. We've got Lorraine's new position, which she just continues to crank stuff out for us in a positive manner, and we appreciate that. We've worked on the affordable housing plan, the efficiency navigator, and getting ready to move into the city in motion plan. We will also get to our new members on the committee. We have some new alders who will be serving there next on the agenda. But as we look in the community, and I'm on this committee till 2030, and if this group is willing to consider me, I'm willing to be chair for one more term. And then I think it'll be time to look at different leadership, and I'll still then serve on the committee. So I've worked with Mike and Joyce for 25 years? And this is a group that does something. And with our new city leaders here on this commission, I think you'll learn that we do get things done and we're engaged. So I will open that up to see if there are other nominations for chair or vice chair, and we take it from there.
Do we need a motion?
We need some kind of motion, yes.
I'll make a motion to nominate you as continuing chair.
Okay.
Second.
And a second by Andy. Other nominations? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same
Aye.
sign. I got you there, Mario. Thank you. And now we also have to elect a vice chair. Andy Potts is currently the vice chair. One of the reasons he couldn't be chair the last time around is he's been chair of this committee before. He's also currently chair of the Bike and Pedestrian Commission. So are there other discussions? I would want to open up for vice chair. Anybody interested in serving in that role to nominate themselves or somebody else? Or I would start by nominating Andy to serve another term as vice chair if he's willing. Second by Dan Hardy. All right, any discussion on Andy again as vice chair?
Yeah, I'm willing unless someone else wants to do it.
Andy's been drafted, Jake. Okay, then let's move on the motion. So all those in favor is Andy as vice chair, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, we have a chair and a vice chair. We can move forward. Now we get to one of our new members who's joined the committee. So welcome Alder Micah LaDusa. If you want to take 2 minutes to tell us what district you're representing, how you come to be on CETA and all those kind of things. So the floor is yours.
Hey, my name's Micah Latase. I am, I'm the other alder from District 4, so you have great District 4 representation here on the district now, or on the committee. And I started as an alder 2025, so in the spring, so I've been about a year. So I asked to be on CETA. This is really interesting to me. I am very interested in development, how we go about it, how we look into both developing from a business and housing standpoint. So this is in my interest zone. I'm excited to contribute however I can. So thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you very much. I will add to you and Jake, who's also relatively new to our group as well. This is a very engaged committee, and feel free to reach out and talk to folks. We do things in between meetings. We don't just come together once a month. So anyway, I appreciate your serving, and looking forward to serving as helping us move forward. Okay, the next, do we have resolutions and ordinances for passage, Mike? None? No. Okay, so seeing none, we will move forward to item number 8. And I'm just going to ask a point of order. This is the hotel room tax considerations, and Nura has asked to speak on this on 8A. Should we have her speak first? Yeah. And then we can go from there. So you're already there. And the floor is yours.
So, good morning, everyone. My name is Nura Saeed. I have a few observations regarding the insert that I wanted to offer today for consideration. Just going to go straight into it. Looking at the top panel of the layout, there's a significant amount of real estate. About 1/3 of that page is dedicated to Madison. In fact, Madison is the first city named in the insert. I think the focus should squarely be on Fitchburg's independent identity and local assets. For example, the federal government designated Wisconsin as a biohealth tech hub, bringing in $50 million in federal funding. This top panel would be an ideal place to highlight that Fitchburg is a core geographic anchor of a federally backed multi-million-dollar tech hub. This kind of leads into my second point. There's an opportunity to mention BioForward Wisconsin in the insert. As we all know, Fitchburg is a major geographic anchor for prominent member companies like Promega, and explicitly showcasing our active connection to the state's leading biohealth network, it would be a major selling point. If you also take a look on the third page of the insert, there is a 2017 population ranking stat. The insert states that Fitchburg was top 10 fastest growing in the state. We were actually number 4, so top 5 would be more accurate. But the primary issue is that the data is a decade old. More recently in 2023, Fitchburg was recognized as the second fastest growing city in the state. Kind of moving on to the second to last point here. There's also an opportunity to mention TIDS, or our municipal financial infrastructure, for a corporate-facing B2B insert that's targeting site selectors and investors, highlighting that Fitchburg has active business-ready TIDs with available infrastructure incentives is a major selling point. Finally, looking at the call to action on the last page of the TID insert, the standard contact information is listed along with a main homepage link, but there are no QR codes or campaign-specific landing pages to the Fitchburg.gov main site. Without these type of digital tools, it's difficult to track engagement and measure if this insert is generating ROI on our tax room dollars. Also, this call to action is a passive way of capturing leads, just waiting for them to contact us. And so to go on the offense and actively capture leads, the call to action should be more of a trackable offensive strategy. So for example, a QR code that could direct readers to a quick survey inquiry where they specify what information they would need, allowing Fitchburg representatives to actively follow up with them. And so these points just to bring to context, I'm kind of curious, what is the current status of this insert? Is this the one that we see in the agenda? Is it a preliminary draft or one that was previously used and is being updated? I'm curious to know.
Thank you very much for those points. I got 5 points. Come back and circle back to later, but I'll look to Mike to answer.
Yeah, I'll cover it when I get to that section. I'm going to do the hotel room tax report first, just so you guys have the update on the numbers. Then we'll go to the insert, and then I'll give the history of that, because that is an out of date from the previous Forward Fitchburg. It was just an example of what we had hoped to do, but in that one, right after we finished it, COVID hit. And so we never launched with that insert. And that's why, so it's the version from the previous Forward Fitchburg years ago. So it's just an example of one that we will be updating as part of this Forward Fitchburg.
Who designed it?
But I'll cover it more. Vanderwall and Associates. Okay. Yeah, for it. So, okay, thank you. Yep.
And thank you for your feedback.
Yeah.
It was very to the point.
Yeah, thank you. Good points. Thank you.
Nice to see you again. Okay, we're going to continue to move forward back to the hotel room tax considerations. Mike, you're on the floor. You were Joyce.
And Jeremy, can you share my screen, please? There we go. So you've got two hotel room tax reports. One is the updated and finalized 2025 report, and you can see here that we came in at 2025 with 543,895. So just about 1.76 more than 2024, and we had projected our budget to be at 545. So the room tax was kind of flat, not only in Fitchburg, but working with our regional partners, Destination Madison. It was also kind of flat within the region. Corporate travel is still kind of not back to, pre-pandemic levels and things like that. So we were conservative with our estimate and kind of came in right about where we were projecting. So we're in good shape financially. We don't overcommit ourselves with the dollars there. And then a couple of other updates is there was a question in kind of the peach colored area here. We still had $50,993.80. Carrie cleaned that up. The $50,000 was actually our contribution to B-Cycle that hadn't been kind of acknowledged on this form. So there's not another $50,000 out there. We spent that to help launch the B-Cycle system. So our balance now in what was the sports-related fund is $93.80 for it. And then the other item that Carrie cleaned up just on the report was in the purple color here, we still had some information from the Biz Boost program that we did through COVID. So she cleaned that up and reconciled all of these accounts as far as the balance of our revolving loan fund as well. So just cleaning up some things, housekeeping on this report. Then if we switch over to 2026, we've got the first quarter in, and as you will recall, as part of the 2026 budget, we increased the hotel room tax rate from 7% to 8%. So this quarter reflects that increase in the hotel room tax rate to 8%. So you can see we came in at $106,581 for the first quarter, and this is without the Spring Hill Suites being open. They just opened. We toured it last week and everything. So this is the first quarter purely reflecting kind of the existing hotel properties without the Spring Hill Suites, but also including then the 1% increase there.
What's the 10th location that was added?
That's the Spring Hill Suites.
Oh, okay, because
yeah,
but the dollar amount's not in here, but the location number.
She's just reflecting that in 2026 we'll have 10
we
locations.
will have. Okay,
yeah.
got it.
Yeah. For it. And some of that, when they say the locations, some of that is also the BRBs, the VRBOs, and the Expedias and stuff reporting to us as well. Yeah. Okay.
So, Mike, did you say that corporate travel is still on the
still
flat
kind of
side? Okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we're off to a good start. It seems like, we were really excited to tour the Spring Hill Suites here, and here's the property here. So we met with Ravine and Judy, the sales people over there, and also Destination Madison, our regional partners, were out there as well. So really, really nice hotel and quality product and everything. And yeah, and then there'll be the ribbon cutting that'll be coming up. And this brings us, we're into the Marriott portfolio here, which is helpful for us.
Is that the only one?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have the Wyndham Garden at Hatchery Hill. We have the Mainstay Suites at Hatchery Hill. We have the Country Inn and Suites on Nesbitt Road, the Staybridge Suites, and now the Spring Hill Suites as far as the hotel properties. Any questions on the room tax reports?
Questions? Andy's got a question here.
Okay.
Just make an observation that even if you were to take the 106,000 and back it down to only be 7%, it's still up from
yes.
the quarter one. It'd be like 93,000. So
yep.
Just pointing out that even though we increased the percentage, it would still be an increase even if we hadn't.
Yeah. So we're off to a good start. Yeah.
Just for my continued learning, is there any restrictions on what we can use the hotel taxes on?
Yeah. Per state statute, 70% has to be used for tourism, promotion, and marketing related purposes. And so we've always adhered to that. And then we have designated our Fitchburg Chamber Visitor Business Bureau as our official tourism entity. So 70% of the room tax dollars that come in get allocated to our Fitchburg Chamber as our partner for it. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We had two options. We could either designate an official tourism entity or a tourism commission, a city commission. And we decided to go years ago with the entity just because they could kind of respond more efficiently and quicker, to do things and probably be a little bit more creative than sometimes our parameters, that we operate under. But then CETA oversees kind of the remaining balance there. 7% goes to administration to cover kind of the finance, accounting, and auditing and just record keeping there. And then that 23% balance is what's allocated through the CETA budget here that you'll see as we go through the 2027 budget process. Thank you. But that been a good model for us.
And it pays a portion of Mike and myself's wages as well.
All right, Mike.
Okay, then I would just reference on the 2026 report, if you go to, and I'll pull it up here. I want to go to the third page here. Now I'm going to the in-business insert or leading into that. So if you look at right here in this column where I'm circling, we have an undesignated balance of $60,126. So that's not designated within our budget or anything at this point in time, but a source of the funds was generated by room tax dollars. So the reason I have the in-business insert and proposal from in-business in there is once we complete Forward Fitchburg, hopefully early fall of this year, that process, and I'll report on that later on, we would like to do kind of a fresh launch of Fitchburg. And in the packet, you saw the 3 previous inserts that we did, which is kind of fun to look at as far as a historical record, especially that first one. You know, when you look at the geographic area, Yarmouth Crossing wasn't there, Hatchery Hill wasn't there or anything. And when I first started, you know, we had a black and white sheet of paper that just kind of listed statistics about Fitchburg. And I'm like, you know, folks, if we're going to kind of launch an economic development program here, we need some marketing pieces, but of course we had no money. And so we've worked with in-business insert, and that first insert, I remember I had to go on all the sales calls with Don Matheson from In-Business Magazine, and because we didn't want to do the glossy, you know, nice 4-color page and then have the traditional black and white ads on the next page. And I wanted it to be 4-color throughout. And what was really cool is we went and met with all the businesses, and all the businesses that are highlighted in there paid to be in there and to help fund that piece. So that's how we did the first one. So we've come a long way with having the room tax dollars and not having to kind of cold call our businesses to help fund that piece. But it would be nice after Forward Fitchburg to kind of make a statement about where Fitchburg is today and where we're headed. So that's the reason for kind of getting that proposal from In-Business Magazine and working with our chamber partners there. They're a little bit more knowledgeable about how you approach these things. So in the original proposal that we have from them, what I'm looking for is up to $25,000 to do some type of piece within In-Business Magazine. But Angela and Catherine, who, again, are more knowledgeable in that area, have said, instead of just doing kind of a one and done, like a 4-page one and done, that we're better off kind of doing 4 single pages over a sequence, because then you're getting that repetition and that visibility within 4 issues there. And then there would also be a social media kind of presence, a website presence, and a direct email campaign that would be part of that $25,000. So in talking with In-Business, if we go to kind of that sequence of 4 one-page, we can still get it within that $25,000. They'll work with us on that. So at this point in time, I just wanted to kind of put that out there. Because it's not in our 2026 budget, I need to work with our finance director, Misty Dodge, to bring forward a budget amendment. But I just wanted to check in with this group to say, hey, are you okay with me kind of going in that direction? And then we would come forward with an actual, you know, forward or specific proposal for that budget amendment. And then once we wind down Forward Fitchburg, then we would work within business on kind of the issues that we would be in, which ones, and then more detail on kind of the campaign that we would run. But that's the thought process. But then to Nira's comments and questions there, as part of Forward Fitchburg, Vanderwall and Associates will be updating that insert piece that we would use. And there was an even more recent version compared to the one that was in the packet. So up on the screen now is a more recent version of that older insert there. But just from a look and feel, this is where we kind of landed. What happened is In-Business had given us the draft that was in the packet, but then Catherine at the chamber, who's very skilled in kind of marketing and graphic design, took it and tweaked it. So this was kind of the look where we landed. But then we never launched it because of, again, COVID hit, of course, room tax tanked, and we didn't have the resources at that time to move forward. But that's kind of the thought process and the overview, but appreciate Nura's comments and especially the call to action. You know, there on the end, I think the idea of kind of the QR code and some other technological things that we can incorporate to interact more and to track things more as far as metrics would be helpful to incorporate.
I'm glad to see Gloria the biking cow is still fitting prominently.
Prominent, yeah, front and center there, yeah. But could I just, a collective nodding of the heads if I bring forward that budget amendment? Anybody have an issue with that? It would be, again, utilizing room tax dollars out of the undesignated, but definitely for promotion and marketing related purposes.
Feedback, folks?
Okay.
Mario, thoughts? Don't mean to pick on you.
I'm all good here. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The other nice thing about this is not only will we have this electronically, but then we can also use it in our marketing packets as well. So we'll have a nice kind of updated marketing piece overall.
Seems like a good use of our funds as we move forward. So get the right message out, and your comments, Nora, will help get this stuff updated as we go forward too. So thank you. Okay, anything else, Mike?
Nope, that's it
Okay.
for that agenda item.
All right, next we're moving on through the agenda. We are down to the housing report from Ms. Gage. Lorraine, the floor is yours.
And then, Jeremy, we're switching over to Lorene's computer now.
So I will be providing just kind of an update of where we are with housing. So as you know, we officially launched the housing plan, and now we're working on the initiatives related to the plan. So the top 4 initiatives that we're working on is Efficiency Navigator. So I'll kind of give you an update of where we are with that. We're finishing up that first phase of the Efficiency Navigator program. We've also made some updates to the contract, and we'll talk a little bit about that. The CDBG Pro Housing Grant. So as you remember, we were awarded $600,000 for infrastructure, and so we are starting the first phase of that. So I'll just kind of give you some light information about that because it is an RFP. I can't share a whole lot about the RFP piece of it. And then also another initiative is the Down Payment Assistance Program. We're kind of finalizing the RFP for that to have an administrator to kind of launch that program. And so I'm going to do some Q&A with you, just some questions of things that you would like to see in the program. And then another initiative is the housing dashboard. So that basically will kind of just share out where we are with housing, with single family homes, and then also information about where we are with down payment assistance once that's launched, and the Efficiency Navigator program. So,
Maureen, will that housing dashboard be a public
yes, it will.
item? Okay.
Yes. So we are working on that internally, so our IT department is kind of determining kind of the metrics piece of it, and I'll keep you updated when that gets launched. So Efficiency Navigator program, currently, as of May 13th, we had 24 applications, which is really good. And that's being applied to 19 buildings. So we actually had so many applications that some of them will be carried on to the next session. So we did really good this time. And I think what really helped is that we launched it citywide, not just for the housing, the healthy neighborhoods. So 205 units and 15 out of 88 intakes were completed. So in addition to that, there were some assessments that were done. 10 buildings have been completed with the assessments, and then we have 3 more that we're working on. And when they did some of the assessments, they did find some kind of urgent issues that were taken care of, but things like gas leaks were determined when they were doing the assessments, but those were rectified right away. So this is really helpful to kind of identify some of these issues that are happening in the buildings. Any questions? All right. So in addition to the applications, we also decided to add some additional protections to ensure that the properties stay affordable for a period of 5 years. So in case that a owner decides to sell the property within that 5-year period, we want to make sure that that is maintained with a new owner. So with the help of Dan, which we greatly appreciate all of his time and effort to put forth this LoRa in place to protect the city's funds. I'll have Dan to kind of share a little bit of what he did. But again, the purpose of this was to protect the funds and to ensure that the affordability period does stay within the 5 years, and this stays with the property. And we wanted to also ensure that it's recorded as well. So Dan, can you kind of share a little bit about the LoRa?
At our last meeting, Lorene explained to me that one of the projects that had benefited from the investment, efficiency navigator grant investment, was being sold, and the question was whether the new buyer would abide by the 5-year requirement to make it affordable under the standards of HUD. And they did, but there's no obligation to do that. So we talked and we said, well, we can put a restrictive covenant on the property so that any buyer who purchases the property within the subgrant period, 5 years after it was completed, will be obligated to continue to adhere to the low-income advantages. The only problem that we encountered was Sustained Dane, which was the party to the contract with the homeowner, didn't want to be the enforcer. And the city of Fitchburg, which would be the enforcer, wasn't a party to the contract. So I went back to contracts 1 that I took a long, long time ago at the law school, and we kind of juggled the words around, so Fitchburg is now an indirect beneficiary of that sub-navigator subgrant agreement, and the landowner is signed on, so when they approve the grant, they can, and it's completed, they'll record this LoRa, which will create a cloud on title for 5 years, enforceable by the city. So if there is a transfer of ownership, the new owner is going to take it just like you would when you bought your house, and there's a obligation that you can't build a fence over 4 feet tall on your property. So the city's grant program has the protections should somebody not abide by the rules, and then the question will be whether the city wants to enforce that. And we also inserted an attorney's fees provision because we always like to get paid while we do things by the other side. So I think we're all set there.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Lorene?
All right, are there any questions about the LoRa?
So I guess we have no way of preventing the recipient of this from selling that property and financially benefiting from what we've done to their property, right? There's no way we can stop them from selling, but we can have the new owners be required to stick to the program.
In a perfect world, the new owner would see there is a restrictive covenant that they're going to have to abide by the lower rent requirements for the balance of that 5-year affordability period, and they would take that into account in determining the price that they're willing to pay, in theory.
Yeah.
Can I ask
So the present owner who takes the sub-grant can sell. There's no way to prevent that. Wisconsin is very much against, the law in Wisconsin is very much against any restrictions that are placed on the free transferability of property. The restrictive covenants are a minor exception, but they can't prevent the absolute sale.
Or we wouldn't ask them to pay us back. We probably couldn't do something like that either.
Well, I guess the problem is the improvements have been made, And the tenants, because of the lower income rent requirements, are benefiting from that, as they should, and that is now going to be continued by the new owner. So we're attaining our objectives, I think.
Micah, you had a question?
Yeah, can I just ask how we arrived at 5 years as the affordability period? And if we are, it seems like we have a lot of applicants this year, we have a lot of interest in the program, and is there potential in the future to say we want to require 7 years or move that up or something? If there are landlords that are willing, that want to be involved in this program, can we get a little more affordability out of that?
Great question.
I'll answer that for you. It's a sustained gain guideline. So when we entered into the program, that was their recommendation to go with the 5 years. So I don't think we want to mess with that.
But that is something that we could look at. I think that's, what are you kind of thinking that would be a...
I mean, I don't have I mean, I don't have a specific proposal or anything. I just think that if the demand to be a part of this program is higher than we even have the capability of supplying funds for, that if we ask landlords to keep rents at a sustainable level for longer than 5 years, it seems like people would be interested in that, and that would keep rents low for residents for longer. So it's it was just a question. So
Great question. I will revisit that, and I'll let you know when I talk to Sustained Dane.
I'll just add, as a historian here, we knew that one of the priorities in the 2019 housing plan was how do we reinvest, rehabilitate that older multifamily housing stock. So our partnership with Sustained Dane originated from the ribbon cutting at the O'Brien Solar Fields, where we struck up a conversation with Claire and said we were looking to dedicate some money out of our housing fund for that purpose. And again, with us being, and this was before Lorene position being in place, we're always looking at how can we be efficient yet effective with our dollars, knowing that we've got a very small staff. We don't have a whole housing department like the city of Madison does. So in that conversation with Claire, she said, oh, well, we have this Sustained Dane program, where we're partnering with Elevate Wisconsin to do exactly that. And that's how the conversation started and where we launched that program with them. So we kind of just took their model at that time. But as we learned with the Lyra and some other things, as we experience things and maybe things come up or questions come up, do we need to adjust and modify as we kind of learn things and experience things? Yeah. But that's how it all came about in the beginning.
All right. So in regards to the LoRa, where we are is that internally, Valerie's going to kind of look over it to make any needed changes, if there are any changes that are needed. And then once that is reviewed and approved, then it will come back to CETA for approval. So I just wanted to, it's probably the next meeting that'll come to you. So.
Okay. Thank you for all that good work.
I actually have one quick update on the efficiency navigator that Lorene probably doesn't even know yet. I did get an email from the city of Madison, and if you recall, we worked with them on an application for a community change through the EDA, one of those, Department of Energy, and the money was clawed back. But it sounds like we might be getting some funding from that program, so I will keep you updated on what I find out.
Okay.
So in addition to that, we are applying for the Energy Innovation Grant along with Madison. So Madison is the lead, and then Middleton and then Fitchburg then would also sign on. So I don't have the exact details of what we're applying for exactly, but we are wanting to be a part of this energy grant to increase what we're doing with the Efficiency Navigator program. So I'll keep you posted on those details.
Thank you very much. It sounds like you are very busy these days, so appreciate it.
All right, so I have
anything else? Go ahead.
Yes. So CDBG, so the Pro Housing Grant, as I mentioned, $600,000 again. that we received, or we will receive, we were awarded for infrastructure. So we would use this money for land banking and acquisition. So a developer would then look for land and could utilize this $600,000 for infrastructure, and then we would also leverage some additional funds. So I can't kind of get into the details of that because it is an RFP process. So we're kind of in that infancy stage of the contracts phase. So we're kind of back and forth with CDBG right now and determining the parameters of that grant. So that's something that will be coming out very soon. Housing dashboard, so I kind of already talked about that, we plan to have that live fairly soon, the next couple of months or so. Down payment assistance, so that's what we're planning to do for $25,000 for new, buyers that are new buyers that are in the AMI range of 60 to 120% AMI, the area median income. And so what we're looking at is that the 60 to 80% AMI could be awarded $25,000 based on need, that this could be used with other down payment assistance programs. And then the area median income of 80 to 120% could have up to $25,000 in matching funds. And the purpose of this is kind of supporting that workforce housing, especially the middle housing income, so your teachers and healthcare workers, all of those kind of categories, to ensure that it's affordable. So this is a program that we're working on. Some key requirements that we would require is that they would get some type of home buyer education with some type of certificate at the end of the program, and then also on our end to protect the city, that we would have some type of inspection that we would do on our end. We cannot require the buyer to do it, but it's definitely encouraged to have an inspection program. So as I kind of finalize the RFP process, there are some questions that I would like to kind of ask you in regards to some key components. And one is the purchase price. So there's three options. One, if we would not have a cap on the purchase price. So that could be as long as they can afford the house. It could be, pretty significantly high. Do you feel like that we should have a cap? Or kind of a moderate cap, which is kind of what I recommend, is kind of in the middle. So just to give you an example, maybe up to $475,000. And then the other option would just to kind of lower the cap or limit the cap across the market. So just kind of thinking of that. And again, if you don't have answers right now, you can always email me of what you think. But these are just some of the things that I'm kind of thinking about as we kind of finalize this RFP. So,
member comments?
I agree with you that there should be a cap.
Okay.
Just in terms of, understanding the expenses that go along with a home, taxes, maintenance, all that kind of stuff. The more expensive the house is, the higher all those costs are going to be. And I think getting a, lower income family into a home where there's going to be a lot of high expenses down the road, I think is trouble. So I would agree that maybe a moderate cap is probably a good idea.
I'm with Jenny here.
Yeah.
She laid this out.
Guardrails.
The middle ground seems to be a good start. And I think, again, we don't want to get somebody in there they can't afford it. To take care of it once they get in. So,
Right.
other comments from the group?
Yeah.
ahead, Dan.
Doesn't the fact that you've already pegged the 60 to 120% of VMI?
That's the area, yes.
So your income is within those parameters. And now we're going to put out $25,000 down payment assistance. And buyer is going to have to go to mortgage lender, and a mortgage lender is going to say, we can't devote more than 30% of your disposable income for housing, which would be the principal, interest, mortgage insurance, taxes, the whole 9 yards. Isn't that already putting a limit and cap on how much the person can buy? How much house the person can buy? How can he buy more than 30%?
That is true. I guess also just kind of thinking in some families, they may qualify for other additional down payment assistance too. So that could be layered with this.
Or they may have more money as a down payment.
Correct.
Because at a $300,000 house, if you're wanting to put 20% down to avoid PMI, that's $60,000. So with a $25,000 from us, that's $35,000 that they're going to have to come up with on a $300,000 house if they want to avoid PMI. Those are big numbers. Right. So you're kind of right that they're probably not very likely to buy a $600,000 house because that would mean lender approvals and a lot more down, and so it'll naturally probably end up with a cap. But I think a guardrail is probably prudent.
I would want to encourage people to apply.
Yeah.
And if you're putting some artificial limit on it, then you may discourage some people who otherwise might explore and come in and try to take advantage of the program. I think the market is going to put the governor on the whole thing.
Lorraine, just to tie on Dan's comment and Jen's, what are others doing in the area that are working on these same things?
This was actually a suggestion from Summit Bank that possibly having a limit, just to ensure that it's equitable among all of the groups. Because if you allow it to kind of not have a cap, maybe just the higher income, families may have access to it, and so just to kind of make it equitable.
Well, and the other thing too would be that if we did that, we would need to have a review process where that can be adjusted over time, because what we would have a cap today, if the market in 2 years is where there's no houses available at that price range, we'll have to have some kind of frequent review to make sure that whatever that cap is, that is still going to allow for people to find housing.
But
Andy,
your point is,
Go ahead. Andy?
Yeah, so I was actually going to make basically the same point that Dan did, which is it seems like there is a natural cap. But that said, I guess I'm not opposed to having a moderate cap, because I'm sure there's some scenario that we haven't thought of where somebody doesn't necessarily have a lot of income but could potentially have a lot of assets who could qualify due to sort of a low income in theory, even though they actually have a fair amount of cash buying power. I guess I wouldn't want someone taking advantage of the program due to sort of that technicality.
Okay. Other comments? Lorraine, anything else from you?
I know this is great feedback. I have a couple more questions.
You keep going.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right. Geographic targeting options. So wanting to know basically if you want to have a kind of a scoring system where if the home is purchased or built in a certain area, so like the healthy neighborhoods area or the qualified census tract, would that be something that we would score higher? Just to, kind of help out with, building certain areas up. So just a kind of a thought if we want to have certain areas targeted.
Go ahead, Jen. You were ready to go?
I'm ready. I guess this one, my thoughts, and maybe I need to think about it a little more, but I think limiting where they buy the house feels too restrictive to me. I feel like they should be able to find housing wherever they can find it and where they want to live and what school district it's in, and it's just, I guess, my initial reaction to that.
Sure.
I was going to say I would agree with that, and then maybe use it as a tiebreaker if you're getting to the depletion of the program where you have to decide between two people or something. Then I think prioritizing the healthy neighborhoods would be good in that regard, but otherwise I think I agree.
Is that kind of the consensus? Okay, good.
You're getting nodding heads.
Yes. All right. City employee preference. That's another scoring system. So when we did the survey, it was indicated that there were a significant amount of employees that were interested in utilizing the down payment assistance. So should we have a scoring system if it's a City of Fitchburg employee? So I guess the options would be no preference, limited preference, or reserved allocation for that.
I think I would be in support of either B or C. Based on my conversations with especially some public safety folks, there was a strong desire to live in the city that they're working, but a lot of them just can't afford it. So I think there is significant value, especially in having public safety workers living in the city that they're working in. And I think it gives some community buy-in. So that would be something I would support very much.
I think I'm kind of in the middle on this one too, because I feel like anytime you have preference to one group of people over another, you're going to get pushback big time from the group that's not in that preferred group. So I kind of agree with the whole concept of it, but I just feel badly that if there is a strong preference to city employees, that there is a group that's being left out of that. So
Can I ask, is the idea for how we kind of would decide, so we have, way more applicants than we have funds, let's say. Is this is looking like it's going to go in some sort of like point system or something like that in order to determine, so we can say, by limited preference, we can say that's, however many points we want it to be, okay, in relation to the.
Correct.
Okay. Then I know, option B, like some sort of limited preference. I mean, I understand. We say all the time that we want people who work in the city to be able to live in the city. I mean, that's like just a common thing we say constantly. So I do see some benefit to having unlimited. I don't know about reserving, actual dollars that's only for that purpose, just from a flexibility standpoint. But
Other comments on this one? I'm with B as well.
Okay.
The others.
Dan?
I agree with the points. Not a set aside or a reserve, but to award some additional consideration if you're a city employee, especially a safety related employee, to give you a slight advantage.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to just make one quick point. I probably shouldn't because I'm a city employee, but the goal of this is to work to bring the missing middle. Mm-hmm. And I think the people that Jake just talked about is a missing middle. So I strongly support something.
something, yeah, in the middle.
For my coworkers, not that I would ever, I couldn't do it, but others may want to.
Mike, do you have any feedback on it?
Can I apply? Just kidding.
Yes.
No. I think, I think anything that we can do to encourage, Fitchburg employees to have the opportunity to live in the community, I think is a positive. So I think some points, I wouldn't do a set aside, just to your point, there, but I think some points at least that could go towards encouraging that.
And since he mentioned that, one of the recommendations was to have employer-sponsored down payment assistance. So I think if we're looking at something like that for our business community, we ought to lead by example.
Good point.
All right.
You're
Great.
on your next slide.
Yes, all right. The next one is the repayment structure. So I guess kind of the three different buckets would be that regardless of, the funds would need to be paid back if you sell the house in any type of refinance. B would be if you sold the home, you would have to repay it, but certain types of refinancing. So for instance, if you're refinancing to lower your interest rate, then you would not have to repay it back at that time. And then C would be, refinance you would have to repay it back. I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry, the first one again is only the sale of the home. The second one is if you, only if you lower the interest rate that you would not have to repay it back. And then C would be any type of refinance or selling of the home.
So B is if I refinance and take cash out, then there would be a payback.
Yes.
And if I don't take cash out, then there would not be a payback.
Correct.
That seems to be appropriate to me.
I feel like, B is probably the best, because you don't want to penalize people. If you're going to refinance for a better interest rate, that's a good thing. So you don't want to punish people for that. And if you have to sell your house because you can't afford to live in it, I guess that, that's a whole, that triggers a whole other. So I guess, we're back in that middle again. Yeah.
Is that the general consensus?
Yeah, strong. I'm strong B.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The administration of the program. So basically, kind of the three options would be that a nonprofit administrator would kind of do all of the reporting, all of the intake and delivery. B would be a hybrid where the city would have some oversight, possibly maybe if a person applied for the program and they were rejected, then CETA would then kind of look at the requirements and determine, if they applied for the program and they were rejected and they were objecting to that, then CETA would then look at that and look at the requirements and determine if indeed, they should qualify. And then C would be that the city would lead the entire administration, which we have limited capacity. But so those are kind of the three options. The one I would recommend would be A, that the administrator kind of take on most of all of the responsibilities of that.
What would be the fees that we would have to pay for that administration then?
The first year would be kind of a significant one because it's the start of the program, and if they have to make any changes to the program. Right now, we're kind of looking at kind of the $60,000 range to administer for an annual basis.
So this would be a city employee, excuse me.
This would be an outside, we'd be doing RFP process and hire a vendor.
But we got to find the money to pay for it.
Correct. And it would be out of the affordable housing funds.
Okay.
Just curious, why would you recommend the option A over a hybrid?
Just because having access to some of the information may not be good for the city, that we need to kind of be partial to some of the information, like, just knowing a lot about the buyer, I think is not in the best interest for the city. And just having one organization kind of doing all of the work, but we would have some oversight on that, right?
That was my
having
question.
Audits.
Yeah, I mean, it's our money, so I feel like we need to have some kind of
absolutely.
involvement and oversight in the program. So that would still happen in option A. We would still be
And I think that more would lean to option B, like you kind of said, so that we would have some oversight, like having audits on a regular basis, maybe some reports that explains, how we're doing in the program. And also if we need to make some modifications in the program, that we can do that as well. So based off of those audits and
So you would
reports.
be the point person most likely for
Correct.
this? Okay.
Andy?
So, yeah, I think C would be out for me, but I could, it should be on. It is on. Question then, because you mentioned sort of appealing a process if someone's rejected, maybe turn to Dan as our attorney. I guess what would be the process then if we kind of go with this nonprofit only and someone feels aggrieved? Like, is that a tort action, and are we ending up in circuit court now? Or I guess, do we need to have a mechanism to try to divert that as a possible outcome? If you don't have an answer,
I don't think so, Andy. I think it is the application process, you make it clear that the decisions of the administrator, whoever that is, are final, then it's done. And unless, now, if the person feels aggrieved because they were discriminated against because of one of the protected classes, of course they can sue, because this program will be subject to, the housing anti-discrimination provisions, and you can never get away from that. And so you may be in circuit court or federal district court.
Okay. Other comments? Yes, Micah.
When you said the setup costs, like obviously it's an estimate, $60,000, that was the one-time setup cost, or that is the ongoing annual?
Yeah, good question. I'm still kind of finalizing those numbers, but that's kind of what I thought for the initial cost is what I'm seeing. I'm kind of looking at other municipalities, and that's typically what it is. And then, yes, a little lower annually after that if we can continue with the same vendor.
Okay, and then Mike and Joyce, can you refresh me on what we've allocated to this program from the Affordable Housing Fund? I mean, tentatively.
Sure, 2.5 million.
Okay,
That's what we have put down.
And we still have some undesignated funds as well that we can allocate to this program if you decide at a later time. So,
And just a little history on that, the original 2.5 kind of figure before we kind of started looking at the citywide program there really originated from our conversations with Gorman and Company about the single family development. Because when they approached us, part of their proposal and kind of terms were that we would help to underwrite the infrastructure costs, we would underwrite the city fees associated with development, and then they would forego their developer fee. But then they also requested that we provide down payment assistance. In the initial conversations with them, they were looking at bringing homes at around 300, 350. So we were looking at kind of $60,000 in kind of down payment assistance. So that way somebody, again, didn't have to pay the private mortgage insurance. So their request initially was $50,000, and then the actual potential home buyer would bring $10,000 to the table. I kind of said, hey, I don't think Fitchburg should be all in for all the down payment assistance. And so I kind of said we could be a partner, but then it would be incumbent upon them to go and identify some other sources like down payment assistance through the Federal Home Loan Bank or through the Dane County Housing Fund. And I know there's some other programs. WIDA, has some things, WIDA with an H and everything. So that's where we kind of landed on the $25,000 that we should be part of something, but then potential applicants or families would need to layer in some other down payment assistance and resources those are the original thought process. But of course, we can't design a down payment assistance program just for one development. It needs to be available citywide. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
any questions or comments regarding that? Okay, that is the end of the quiz. So really the next steps are, again, reviewing and finalizing the LURA. Again, that will be coming back to you. We're continuing with the CDBG coordination internally, kind of defining this down payment assistance program. So again, working on the RFP process and finalizing the program, and then we'll have some additional oversight with Axley. And then probably try to roll this out maybe into the summer. And then the housing dashboard is coming soon. So those are the updates in housing.
Thank you. A lot of good positive things going on, and I appreciate the Commission's feedback on, we're here to help you, so ask as much as you need some help from us. So,
Awesome.
Other comments? Okay, we'll move to our next item, the tax incremental districts. Mr. Mike.
Okay, and Jeremy, I'm going to go back to my screen here, please. There we go. So I'm just going to give a few updates on various TID requests. And the three districts that I'm focused on is on the west side of Fitchburg. This is TID number 17 here in kind of the aqua blue. And then the orangish red on Fish Hatchery Road is TID number 10. And then on the east side in purple here is TID number 11 there. So we'll start with TID number 11 just because council took action on Tuesday night. We've got the syncopation development, and that proposal involves right here, that's the clean fill site between Highway 14 and MM. And we've got the local developer, Mark Fairchild, and his team that have brought forward a proposal for two multifamily buildings here right along MM. On the southern end is a senior continuum of living and care facility by Trilogy Health Services, which is out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. That would include everything from independent to assisted to memory care to skilled nursing, 119 units total. Then on the western boundary of the property, there would be 40 single-family lots. And then on the northern end, there would be 40 townhome units here. And then the mixed-use buildings would also, or the apartment buildings would also include a mixed-use component of about 12,000 square feet. So that's what they're kind of envisioning and proposing to build, an estimated value of about $104 million at full build-out and everything. So the TIF request was for $9.8 million. And that's the request that we took forward to the council on Tuesday night and received support for that. So Fairchild Development will be coming back to Plan Commission in June. This falls under our Plan Development District zoning. So they're coming forward with an updated general implementation plan. That's the next step for them. Then they'll be winding their way through a specific implementation plan that will ultimately lead to a final plat and moving forward with some of the land sales for their development. In the end, Fairchild Development, they're the master planner overall, but they'll be selling off land to a single-family developer, to the townhome product, and then to Trilogy. And in the end, Fairchild will be keeping these two multifamily buildings here. So that's kind of the sequencing of everything. But as you may remember historically here, this is our third attempt at these properties. When the TID was created in the beginning, it was for a concept called At Edge Live Work by Randy Alexander, and in the end that didn't come forward, and after we had created the TID district. We tried a second time with a group out of Milwaukee, Royal Capital. They took a good approach to it, but then construction costs and interest rates changed as they were kind of doing their project pro forma, and then they kind of stepped away from it. So we're hoping that this one continues to move forward. They get the rest of their entitlement process through the Plan Commission, and then ideally they would like to start to get in the ground and move dirt sometime later this fall for it. But a lot of geotechnical here. There have been significant geotechnical studies and analyses done, and they're working closely with our engineering and public works department as part of that.
Mike, two questions. To the north, is that McCoy Road?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then to the, what's to the south?
To the south is the Osborne property here, and then further to the south you get to Lacey Road there. And one thing that came about as planning and public works have been working with not only Mark Fairchild on the Fawcett property, but the Osborne family is doing some updated kind of future land use on their property. And one of the things that we wanted to ensure is that there will be connectivity. So while these roads will primarily be private within the development, this ingress egress point is going to be public, and then it'll wind through the Fawcett Fairchild property here, and then it'll continue down through the Osborne property. So there will be a north-south connection down to Lacey Road, because connectivity is very important through the various neighborhoods here.
I got my bicycle hat on.
Yeah, that's coming. I don't have enough knowledge on all of that, where that's at, but that hasn't been forgotten about. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so that's TID number 11, again, 9.8 million. That's going to be broken down into 2 MRO pay-as-you-go developer bonds as they do the phases of this project here. And again, thanks to Ellers for all of their analysis on this to help us get to where a deal works for the developer on the private sector side, but also for us in the public sector side, kind of within our parameters here. But this is a prototypical kind of TID development as far as a reclamation and redevelopment site there. So now I will shift to Fish Hatchery Road, TID number 10. And in the current economic environment, it's hard to put deals together and hard to keep deals together. So we've had a deal for Bowman Plaza, the long-awaited redevelopment of Bowman Plaza and the stop-and-go former C-store site there. The current TIF developer agreement was for $5.65 million, with an estimated investment of $70 million, with a 5/2 building here. And you can kind of see the sketch. This would be the tallest building in Fitchburg. The church property, which is already expanding to the north, is just to the north of this property. Well, once we finalized the TID deal, and just recently, Ned Hoyt from Ragtag Ventures approached us and said, "Hey, city, my costs have gone up another $7 million here because we're experiencing not only construction costs, labor costs for construction, fuel costs are starting now to filter into project performance, and then interest rates." And so Ned approached us and said, "Mike, I've got 2 options. You're probably not going to like either one." And one was to scale back the project to go with just 4/2. The other option was to come back and revisit Fitchburg's TIF participation. We all talked internally with the mayor, administration, staff, and North Fish Hatchery Road, developed when Fitchburg was still a town. And we want to urbanize, reinvest in that corridor. There's 46,000 cars a day coming through the Beltline Fish Hatchery Road intersection. And that leg of North Fish Hatchery Road down to McKee is also part of bus rapid transit. So this is an area where we need to go big here and not kind of lower the bar as far as development and the aspirations up there. So we said we were willing to take a look at it. We had a meeting with them yesterday with Ellers, and hopefully we're going to be coming forward with a proposal to increase our TIF support up to not to exceed $7 million for it. And Ellers is going to be running that analysis, and timing-wise, hopefully we'll be back at the council meeting with a direct referral on June 9th to keep that deal together. And if we're able to do that and get to that level, then this project, the 5/2, will proceed there for it. A couple of other things we're doing to try and acknowledge the private sector side of financing and underwriting is typically as the increment from the new valuation that's in the ground comes in, we split it 2/3, 1/3. So 2/3 goes to pay back the pay-as-you-go MRO developer bond. 1/3 stays within the district to cover administration and other city costs as part of that. As part of this deal, we'll probably accelerate the increment on the front end, which helps with some of the lending and underwriting on the private sector side in the early years of the deal here, but then we'll taper it off on the back years. We may come in probably a little higher than our 67. We'll probably be in the low 70s there. But again, this is one of those prototypical redevelopment projects here that you think of when you think of TID. A lot of our deals have been more greenfield, but this is that prototypical one. So we think that in this case, it's justified. Obviously, we're going through our underwriting and fiduciary with Ellers to make sure we're staying within our parameters and lanes and everything there. So we've been talking with administration, the mayor, finance, and Valerie with legal there. So we think we can hold this one together and keep some good things going up there on Fish Hatchery Road. This would have 270 market rate apartments and then 12,000 square feet of commercial space. And then it'll be right up to the street and then 2 floors of structured and underground parking. And that also worked with the church site. So on the northern boundary there with the church, there's a shared parking easement. So we're being very efficient, with kind of the number of parking stalls and, how some uses can kind of coexist up there in the corridor. So very excited about this project. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I would just give a shout out to the City on the Hill Church. That one is moving closer to Fish Hatchery Road, which starts again to kind of give us more of that urban footprint and everything that we're trying to accomplish up there on Fish Hatchery Road. So again, $77 million investment for this project. A couple of things that are driving the cost. It's not only the inflationary, kind of costs that are out there right now, but the other thing that Ned's group learned is by going from his typical 4/1 buildings that they do to 5/2, there are building code requirements that kick in that add costs, not only everything from electrical and what you need to do structural, but also how you do the decks, too. And so they've learned some things too as they've gone, further into the estimating process and everything there. So just something for us to be aware of. And then there's already increased costs from the newly adopted building code changes too that are filtering into projects as well. Okay, the next one.
Mike, before you move on, would you please send the committee these slides you're showing, because I didn't see them in my slide deck.
No, this is, kind of real time. Yeah. Okay. Then the other one I just wanted to mention is the UPS store has purchased I always call it the Quonset Hut up there on Fish Hatchery Road. So here's Fish Hatchery Road. This is Oshala Drive. UW Credit Union would be to the north here. So currently we've got the Quonset Hut building that has 50 to 60-year-old Quonset Hut building that has the PC Metrocom, and there's a spa in there currently. The UPS store needs more space, so they acquired this building and property here and are looking to do a new UPS store. When they first approached and talked to Joyce and I, they were just going to kind of reface and reskin the existing building. And then we had a conversation with them and we said, hey, Melissa and Sam, do you really want to invest in a 50 to 60-year-old building? And then as we think about our North Fish Hatchery Road vision, it's not really kind of, well, we would have gotten a fresh-looking building. It's not kind of changing the footprint of some things. So to their credit, they were willing to kind of venture out there with us to explore other opportunities. And what they're looking to do is a brand-new commercial building up to the corner here. So again, helping us to accomplish our goals in the North Fish Hatchery Road vision. And this would be a building not only for themselves, but it could be for at least one other tenant or possibly 2 other tenants, depending on how the space would be subdivided. I know I got a question from one of our council people. Hey, Mike, it's great that the building's up to the street, but couldn't we kind of get multi-story mixed use? Again, to Melissa and Sam's credit, they tried. We worked with them for months, and through probably 4 iterations, they even tried to bring in a multifamily kind of investor and partner. And you just can't make the numbers work because you can't get the economies of scale because you're not getting over 60 units, here at the site. It's about 5,000 or 5,500. They're continuing to kind of tweak some things here, but I would say about 5,000 or 5,500, there. So again, they made a good faith effort, but we're getting a new building, and then it will, again, frame that corner and give it a very good presence and everything. As part of this deal here, the city of Fitchburg actually owns this remnant parcel that was acquired when we put in Oshala Drive. And UW Credit Union bought this remnant piece on the north side. We're going to sell this piece to the Ross Family Partnership here for the UPS store, because but for this parcel, they can't move the building up to the street. So the only way we get that urban footprint and the Fish Hatchery Road vision is by us participating. So we're looking to sell them this parcel, and we have an offer to purchase from them that'll be coming forward to the council for $1 there to kind of make the economics work. It's got a fair market value. Joyce found us an appraisal that turned it around quick. It's got a fair market value or appraised value of about $85,400 is what came in at it for it. And then the other costs that we would participate on here is demolition for the existing building that's on the site, because they, again, acquired an existing building that they're not utilizing. Again, very prototypical TIF expense for demolition of that building. That's about $56,000 for it. So those would be kind of the two things that we would be doing through the TID district there. The demolition costs would be financed through a MRO pay-as-you-go developer bond on that one. Andy?
What's the value of the current building, since won't there be a decrement then on the TID?
Yeah. Do you know what the value is?
It's not much.
Yeah.
Most of the value's in the land.
Yeah. I don't know the exact number, but TID number 10 is very healthy and everything there. We're actually financing and paying for the generational reconstruction of Fish Hatchery Road, and that's all cash flowing with all the investments we've had, up on North Fish Hatchery Road. So we're in a good position. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's a really unique parcel to try and put a new building on, because it's very narrow and very deep. Mm-hmm. And when you look at stormwater that you have to keep on the site, there's just not a lot they could do. Yeah, they worked for many, many months on, going up 4 or 5 floors, and it just, the cost was prohibitive.
Yeah. Oh. But another good project, keeps momentum going on Fish Hatchery Road and helps us continue to transform that corridor into the city of Fitchburg of today. Yeah. And again, great small business, they have their business here, they live here in Fitchburg, it's just a great partnership overall with everything.
You'll see this one move really fast too, because they need to be out of their existing space by March 1st. Yeah. So we're pushing to keep this one going.
2027?
Yep.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Do we know if there's a new tenant moving into that spot?
I was going there next.
Since that current site's also in Fitchburg?
The UPS store? Yeah, there's an existing Fitchburg business
That's going in there.
Yeah, I don't think
we
we can
can't
say
tell.
who yet, but yeah, they needed more space, so they'll be relocating, and it's good that, again, we're keeping them in Fitchburg as well.
Just an anecdotal
There's pieces
comment.
to the puzzle here.
This is good for our city, and if you see the traffic in and out of that place over here and by the park, it's a lot of people in and out, and they're not just Fitchburg people.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's a really nice design too.
Yep. So then we're switching, now we're going to the west side. Okay. And on this one, I got to kind of keep things generic here. So the west side, Jamestown Quarry. So Super Target and Verizon would be to the south here on McKee Road. If you've been over there recently, there's public improvements being done to the intersection of McKee Road and Fitch-Rona. Hopefully those will be winding down by the end of next week there. And so we've got the 4 users across the front. Once they're at 90% of the public improvements, those 4 users are just waiting in the wings to get their full building permit, but they've got to be at 90%, so they're getting close. But then again, there will be the Chase Bank, Chick-fil-A, Crew Car Wash, McDonald's across the front. This apartment building here that Corey Frank did to the north of Fitchverona is currently taking occupancy, 273 units there. With TID number 17, the boundary is right here before you get to what we call the infield, which is where the Winger plant is associated. And the developer, Jeff Hundley, is trying to bring us a retail center, and then Corey Frank would do a second, one of the Texas wrap apartment buildings with the parking structure in the middle, approximately another 273 units at that site. But because of cost pressures and extraordinary costs on this site, it's hard to make the numbers work for the retail center there. So Jeff approached us, and we have the terms of a TID deal with them to drive this retail center at $2 million, up to $2 million, and it's for 3 buckets specifically. One would be for extraordinary soils or excess soils that would need to be trucked off of the site there, and kind of reclamation of the quarry there. The other one is because of the grade differentials there, there's a significant cost for a retaining wall to kind of make everything work on the site, and then to kind of more efficiently utilize the site from a development standpoint, they will be undergrounding the stormwater to some considerable expense there for it. But what we've worked out with him, if we can get support from the council to help underwrite those extraordinary costs, he can make the numbers work with the lease deals on the back end for the 4 prospects that would go in the retail center. And I can't necessarily get into names in a public setting today here at this point in time. So what we're doing with the TID district is we're bringing in the land area of what we call the infield, so all the Winger parcels, and we've been in communication with Bob Shea and Wingerstone about that, although they've given us no indication that the Winger plant is relocating anytime soon. And then we're coming over and we're just bringing in this larger parcel where the retail center and the second apartment building will go. We're leaving out the first apartment building, and we're leaving out the 4 lots across the front here.
Is that second apartment building going to happen like boom, boom, boom?
Corey wants to get in the ground as quick as possible. Yeah. But the hurdle isn't on the public sector side. This development entity hasn't closed yet on the land with Bob Shea yet, so they've got that work to do as well. As part of the process here, last week, Tuesday, May 19th, there was the organizational meeting of the Joint Review Board. There was a public hearing at the Plan Commission, and they approved the amendment unanimously. And then there was a special meeting of the Common Council. Because it's an amendment, we could line up the Plan Commission meeting and the council meeting on the same night, which is helpful from a timing standpoint. And the council approved it unanimously as well, contingent upon that when the deal comes forward that a certain retail entity is part of the deal. There, so that's the deal is contingent upon that, and that's okay. Can
I ask a question that it does not involve a certain?
Okay.
When the 4 on McKee, when we finish public improvements, when they start, how long are they expecting to take to build those?
Some of them can crank it out pretty quick. Okay. So I think some of them are planning to be done kind of in the fall, optimistically here, or definitely the first quarter of 27.
All right.
Therefore, but hopefully we got 1 or 2 at least that are maybe opening their doors, later in the fall. They kind of bring in they've got their prototypical and crews, and once they're able to start, it goes pretty quick.
Okay.
Therefore,
great.
Okay. So the next step in the TID Amendment 17 process would be on Wednesday, June 24th, is when the Joint Review Board meets and will take final action on it. And then the other thing that's happening simultaneously is we'll be referring out the developer agreement with Jeff Hundley from Colburn Hundley, specifically for the terms of the deal. And again, there will be language in there about it's contingent upon for it. So we're working on that. I'm not sure if that will be ready for a June 9th referral with action on June 23rd, or if that'll come a little bit later. We're having a lot of conversations and phone calls on timing of those things. But a really good, again, reclamation of a quarry. That's a remnant of our township days here. And then the other thing is by putting in the infield land, if at some point in time that business entity relocates, we're already positioned for, to look at a redevelopment of that site. The challenge there for Wingra is to try and relocate that plant somewhere with this kind of central location, proximity to go all directions for construction and road jobs there. You're hard pressed to find a site like this, for him. But we stay in communication with them and continue to have conversations. So, any questions on this one here? Okay, good stuff happening, over there. So I think that concludes. Did I forget anything? Joyce, Reed?
Yeah, we're actually working with Huntley on a idle sites grant through WEDC, which has been the death of me. But that will be submitted once we get the developer agreement finalized. And we're going to hopefully be in the queue for the next fiscal year, which starts July 1st.
Okay, anything else?
One thing I will just say, not only with the housing programs, but with the TID stuff, if sometimes you see us a little frazzled there, the amount of time that this all takes as we're trying to put new programs together, as we're trying to manage TID deals, the number of hours across our team here that have been devoted to this, that doesn't show up anywhere until it finally becomes kind of public or we're bringing something. It just is a considerable amount of time. And I would also say administration, Chad, Valerie, Misty, when it comes to TID deals, and them also for the housing programs there. And then, of course, Deanna and Public Works on the whole kind of entitlement of the project side. There's a lot going on, and sometimes we're a little over capacity here. So if you see me pulling out any hair I do have left, and other people, there's a lot going on, trying to hold them all together simultaneously here. So credit to all of City of Fitchburg staff, really working hard to keep things moving forward here. And again, we appreciate the council support when we do bring them forward publicly when they're finally ready to go, to kind of keep things in seat of support too. So we're fortunate to be in the position that we are, which then will help us in our budget as far as the net new construction going forward. Okay, that's 10.
Anything else under number 10, Mike?
No, I think I covered everything.
Okay. Let's move then to your next item on the agenda, which is the Economic Development Director updates.
And the first item on that list is our City in Motion, which is our Forward Fitchburg Economic Development Strategic Plan. As you know, we're working with Vanderwall and Associates to do City in Motion or Forward Fitchburg 3.0 version. Many of you were at the original kickoff session that we held at the library. And the next step in this process, they've been doing a lot of research, data collection and analysis and everything. And coming out of that original session that you participated in, there was a consensus that we focus on kind of 3 topic roundtables. Let me just find my email here. If you can see this email here. So the 3 roundtable topics are commercial centers and identity, which gets into that whole conversation of Fitchburg developed uniquely as a township. We do not have the traditional historic downtown. So how do we position our community for kind of successful commercial centers along our 3 north-south corridors? And then how does that help us kind of evolve Fitchburg's identity continuing to go forward? There, so you can see exploring how Fitchburg can strengthen walkable mixed-use districts and evolve a clearer sense of place and community identity. So we are looking to hold a roundtable and bring stakeholders together. We've got about 45 individuals developers, entrepreneurs that already have businesses in Fitchburg. Somebody like a Rolling Pin is being invited to hear from them on, what's working, how do we position ourselves, are there some partnerships we should be looking at as the city? So that one's going to be on Wednesday, June 17th from 9:30 to 11, and it's going to be at the Fowler, which is the new event center in the Blue Plate Catering Building along Verona Road. And we can send these dates out to you, so don't think you got to write it all down. We'll send. We're going to strategically invite you to some, okay? And then we're going to be sending something out to the council as well for the different sessions there. Then on, so that's Wednesday, June 17th. Then the next two, innovation economy and economic positioning. This is kind of looking at those industry clusters where we already have kind of a concentration established, but also what are some of those new emerging industries that are out there that maybe Fitchburg could be positioned for. Fusion maybe being just an example, of one. So we're going to be inviting a lot of smart kind of science and tech people to this session to kind of hear, again, where we already have kind of businesses established, but also some of those emerging industries. So that's going to be on Thursday, June 18th from 10:30 to noon. And then the second one that came out from the strategy team kind of guiding the City of Motion Forward Fitchburg process is, there's AI out there and so much happening in the AI world. And it was Steve Leverance from Promega Fitchburg Center that said, hey, should we be having that conversation about what is going to be the impact of that on our community, on our economy? How do we leverage that? Are there things that we should know and kind of be thinking about? So this one is going to be discussing how AI may influence local industries, workforce needs and development patterns, and how the city can more proactively position itself. So again, we got a lot of smart people that we've reached out to invite to that session. That's going to be on that same date, June 18th, from 1 to 2:30. And the ones on June 18th are going to be at the Staybridge Suites on the west side of Fitchburg there. So those are the three topic roundtables. But then as part of the Forward Fitchburg process, and something I know that the mayor and elected officials have been interested in for a while, and we said we would incorporate as part of this process, is a developer roundtable, where we would bring the development community, also consultants, end users and everything together. So that one we have scheduled for June 25th. That's another Thursday. And that one's going to be at that Fowler Event Center as well. And we're going to be bringing together stakeholders in the development community. And the first part of it will probably be focused on what is Fitchburg, how are we doing as far as moving things through the development pipeline. We've done a lot of systems and processes improvements over the last couple of years. We've got the development team that meets every Tuesday. We've modernized our submittal process, so you don't even have to come into City Hall. You can submit applications, 24/7, 365 through OpenGov. According to the Smart Growth Greater Madison ranking, we're the community that most efficiently moves projects through the pipeline. Smart Code helps us with some of that. But we want to hear from them. Are there other kind of processes or systems things that we can do? One big thing we'll hear from them that we're going to address right on the front end is we know already that we're in desperate need of a major comp plan update, a zoning code rewrite, and a sign code update. Our planning colleagues are bringing forward that contract to do all of that work to the council in June. But that will take us 18 to 24 months to get through those various processes. But at least we can announce to this group that's coming, because that's been something we've needed for a long time for it. Then on the back half of that session, as long as we got this group together, thinking again about how do you successfully create mixed-use developments? Because we struggle with this sometimes on the private sector side. Sometimes they're like, well, Fitchburg, we don't quite see, your community or your corridors as that kind of product. And we're like, well, it's being done elsewhere. you know, in the Madison area along Park Street, Middleton, University Avenue. Why not Fitchburg, you know, here? And then one of the unique aspects of us not having that traditional historic downtown with some of those older buildings in that older space, it really hinders our local entrepreneurs. The nationals can pay the per square foot prices of the new buildings that are being constructed, but the local mom and pops, it's a real challenge, you know, for them. And we've lost, you know, 2 businesses. One was that nice woman's boutique that used to be on Nesbitt Road, Coastal Boutique, that went to Verona because they could buy a building and control their economic, you know, destiny there. The other one that we lost, which was really unfortunate, was Dave's Guitar, which was at Hatchery Hill, that they drew people from all over the geographic radius there, and they moved to Sun Prairie because, again, they bought space there that they could. So we've been having conversations just as we see developers and talk to people. Are there some strategies that we should be thinking about? So like in a mixed-use building, is there a business model where we would, through a TID district, maybe help to condominiumize a business model, that first floor space, that could bring a different strategy that could help that local mom and pop? So we've been talking to kind of brokers, we've been talking to bankers, we've been talking to some commercial real estate people. So we're hopefully going to have a little panel discussion and maybe have a breakout, as long as we got all these people together in one room, have them offer some ideas and thoughts and strategies of how should we be looking at these things and positioning Fitchburg going forward. Because that's what we're aspiring to in our various neighborhoods here. But we've got to acknowledge and recognize we can't just say we want it as the city and private sector, you figure it out, because it doesn't always work that way. And if that's what we're trying to accomplish, we're going to need to be probably a partner and collaborate to help realize that vision and those aspirations. So that's what the developer roundtable would kind of be focused on. One thing we're trying to encourage is, again, we're bringing a lot of people together. We want to kind of hear from them. So like we as staff are planning just to be there to observe and listen, because now I'm dominating right now, talking, and I need to sit and listen there and let a lot of the smart people that are knowledgeable in these areas so we can learn and listen, and Vandewall will guide those kind of facilitated discussions and conversations there. So we'll be sending you out some information on all of those, but that's where we're at with Forward Fitchburg there. Did I forget anything on that one at all? Okay. So that's City in Motion. You guys, yeah. On the east side, Gorman has a letter of intent out to the Osborne family. Let me just pull up that map here. For this property right here, if you can see my cursor here, for their potential single-family development, as you may be aware, they've got a memorandum of understanding for some terms that they brought forward with the council, but the next step was for them to go and identify a parcel, which they've done. Now they're working with our city planner. This falls under smart code zoning here, and there's a master kind of regulating plan for this whole smart code area called the Article 3. So the Gorman team is working with Deanna and her team to kind of line up their development plans so they are aligned with that Article 3. 2 critical kind of technical elements that they need to take a look at is a wetland delineation for this area, which they're working on, and then also a tree survey as part of it.
There's a property there, right? In that tree.
Is there one? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. But they're working on that, and then hopefully once they've aligned with the Article 3 and they have those other items completed, and then they do an estimate of their infrastructure costs, the next step then would be to come back to the council to say, here's what we're proposing, here's the estimated cost. Hey, council, do you still want to proceed?
This is their affordable housing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, single-family product looking at $300,000 to $350,000, where we would underwrite the infrastructure costs and the fees, and then they would forego their developer fee. Now, the one interesting thing, as you know, the legislature passed the residential TID bill, which brings us something additional in our toolkit to be able to work on. But in previous conversations with Gary and Gorman, was they were looking for us to cover the infrastructure costs up front as part of it. The TID residential bill calls for it to be financed through pay-as-you-go developer bond model. So when we get back to the council, that'll be kind of one of those discussion points is, can they make it work as far as their development model for this project using, because that would be probably the quickest and cleanest way to create a TID district. When you try and make it fit within a mixed-use TID classification, there's parameters that you have to fall in as far as how much residential can be part of those things. So keep an eye out for that one. The other thing that we're waiting on over here is this big 40-acre parcel, this one here, and these two north-south rectangular ones. That's all the No Oaks Ranch LLC land, Holmes Barberschmidt family. We're anxiously awaiting some of this land to start to come forward because, of course, the most commonly asked question we get is, when are we going to get some kind of grocery store and retail commercial development here? But if you look at this, the trade ring, there's nothing here for it. So until we get and start opening up that, we have preliminary conversations, but this would really be helpful if this started to open up here to have more serious conversations, with some of those prospects and end users. So this family is waiting on an appraisal that's going to be coming kind of about the middle of June. And then hopefully that will provide some additional information for them to make an educated and informed decision on some letters of intent that they already have for some of their properties there. So we'll keep you posted on that one. And then Terra Vesta continues to boom over here. They're moving forward with their kind of fifth and final phase up here in this area. So thankfully we have those developments going forward. One thing we're concerned about, though, internally is we need more land areas and subdivisions. We're out of lots in the Verona School District, right now, and don't have a lot of options for where we can look to bring in new land and new subdivisions, over there. So just something for all of us to
Oregon, right?
be aware of. This is the Oregon School District here. Yeah. And then we've got Viridian with Highfield Reserve. That gives us some pipeline, but we're going to struggle here for a little while until we probably get through that comp plan process. Hopefully one that we can look to is the Bowman land here on North Fish Hatchery Road. They had indicated previously that once they kind of sold the parcel, the Bowman Plaza parcel, and then the last parcel that they have on Index Road, then hopefully they would be in a position to start to look at the southeast corner of Post and Fish Hatchery Road. Again, prime infill site right in the heart of our urban service area there. So that's another one that we're keeping an eye on.
I didn't realize how big that was.
For it.
What's that? I didn't realize how big their property is.
Yeah, that's when you look at all that acreage there, not only Bowman, but the land that used to be Scholasky that Mike and Ned bought, it's the equivalent of Hatchery Hill there as far as acreage. So it shows you what could be the potential, there up there in that corridor. The one parcel we would love to see come forward on the west side here for residential, but so far they haven't reached agreement with anybody. This property right here that Payne and Dolan has, kind of north of this wooded area, they've got a comprehensive development plan that would bring kind of like 120, I think, kind of single family or twin home units here. And this is in the urban service area, but so far they haven't reached agreement with anybody yet. We keep referring people to them, but they haven't come to a deal yet. That's
Verona School District.
That's Verona, yeah. That's why that would be a lifeline for us to bring some lots. So. And then the last thing I'll just mention is we have had some prospects approach us kind of more from a tech data center. So we've had some conversations about kind of this site and one on the east side there. So we're going to continue those conversations and see where they go. It would not be a mega as far as acreage. You know, there would be something of just based on some internal conversations, the size and scale that we think we could accommodate here in Fitchburg, or at least should take a look at. Understanding the energy questions, understanding the water usage, understanding noise, and those kind of things would all need to be addressed as part of those conversations. But we'll see where those lead in the future.
Mike, just a comment. I didn't fully digest it this morning, but there's a front page article about Dane County wanting to take a moratorium on these data centers. No matter what or where they are. So okay.
Yeah, and that's we have our jurisdiction over planning and land use and everything, you know, here. So that kind of covers the townships that fall under Dane County zoning and everything. But we'll be chatting with the mayor and administration about how do we continue our conversations, but also probably reach out to the county as well to kind of say, hey, here's where we're at, you know, with some things. And we just want to learn more and see if it's something that could make sense, you know, for us. Recognizing there's a lot of considerations technically involved with something like that. And Joyce, Lorene, you got any updates? Anything
Decor and more tonight.
What's that?
Decor and more event is tonight.
Go ahead. You want to mention it?
No, you can't.
I don't know the time.
I don't either.
Decor, the interior design space at Hatchery Hill, it's their 25th anniversary and they're having an event. So this evening, yeah, if you want to stop. They're on the top side of Hatchery Hill on Cahill, Maine, right there. But congrats to Deb and her team at Decor.
Anything else from our staff?
The other thing I just forgot to mention is Efficiency Navigator, the second phase of the project. That contract will be coming forth soon.
Okay. All right, we're getting close to adjourning our meeting, but I want to take a quick thing and say, again, I want to welcome Micah, but I think we didn't introduce ourselves to you. So I think it might, do you know everybody on the committee? Okay.
Yes, I think everyone around. So.
Okay, I neglected that when we welcomed you this morning. So if there is no other announcements from the committee, we will move to take a motion for adjournment. Our next meeting is Thursday, June 25th. And we look forward to hearing about the sessions that Mike and staff have set up going forward about the plan. So I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved, second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. We are adjourned.
Thanks everybody.
Folks.